아 바드 좋은데? 아 이 녀석 옛날에 많이 만났던 바드네. 아직도 여기 있니?
Yo, what's up? It's time for another post-commentary video. I started to play more ranked games off-stream because I just really wanted to focus on my gameplay a bit more recently. I play a little differently off-stream compared to on-stream since I don't have to look over at my chat every few seconds, so I can obviously focus more on like actually winning, you know? So I'll be doing way more macro-related things in this particular game. It's also been a while since I did a full game commentary like this, so I'll just be talking through everything I was thinking at the time while going for some of these plays, which may help you run it down in style in your own games. You probably saw from the intro that I had ambition on my team, and it's always fun to look through these VODs afterwards to see their points of view as I'm just running around on the side, because it gives me another point of reference on if the plays I'm making are even good or not for future games. Right from the start, I'm already visualizing how the first few minutes are going to go in the bot lane 2v2 between Silver Bard versus Kai'Sa Neeko. My playstyle in terms of roaming varies heavily based on the matchup, and in this case, since it's double range versus double range, I'm going to be opting to basically leave at the first moment I can to gank mid or help my jungler clear faster, because the one biggest problem of roaming as a support is obviously if your ADC gets tower died while you're gone and then they just leave the game, which is honestly understandable. Anyone that played ADC can attest to how annoying it is when the supporters just never in lane, and even worse, if they don't do a single thing at the roaming and just waste time. So if you do leave the lane, there better be a good reason. If the enemy support was something like Nautilus, Alistar, Leona, or any kind of hard CC support, I would try to at least bait out some abilities or chunk their HP bars before leaving so that they can't just die my poor ADC alone for free and make them rage quit. But since it's a Neeko support, I have a bit more leniency in terms of when I can just leave, since they won't be able to dive as easily, especially when you have a very wave clear focused ADC like Sivir that can comfortably farm from a good distance away and dodge random engages with their spell shield. I start out with the typical ward in the river bush before picking up my 2 chimes, because I want to always recall for an early scanner to make it easier for my jungler to gank later on. I used to be a jungle main, as some of you know, and one of the most annoying things is when you want to gank a lane only to realize that your laner didn't even bother to check if there was a ward or not in the bush, which just wastes your time in the end. I honestly believe that one of the best ways to improve at the game is to sometimes just try out other roles to see their point of view and use that knowledge to figure out how you think your teammates would want you to play or move around the map. Like, this is honestly just life advice of putting yourself in someone else's shoes and trying to understand their circumstances instead of just saying jungle diff or whatever and learning nothing. You'll see that I wait a bit before I pick up the 3rd chime along with the minion wave so that I have the slightest movement speed buff when walking into the lane. It might not seem like much, but I guarantee you there will come a time when not getting hit by 1 or 2 skill shots can be the difference between getting a kill or losing your lane. You're going to see me pressing tab a lot to open my scoreboard, because when Neeko is transformed as a minion or another champion and is visible to your team, you can actually see that her champion icon isn't grayed out from being outside the fog of war. So you can use that to determine if she's in your field of view or not. I see that we can physically see her somewhere, so I guess that she's probably transformed as a minion and get ready to stun her as he tries to poke us. I always hold off on leveling my second ability based on the game state. If my ADC is getting too low and my jungler is nowhere nearby to gank, I'll go W for my heal. But if I want to go for an early roam or go for an aggressive angle, I'll go E for my portal. Here we're forced to back off a little since I have Spellbook and we just use all of our damage abilities, so we can't trade more. And I do a quick scan mid to see if it's gankable. I see that Annie is getting a little low and decide to send it immediately. And after picking up a chime nearby for an extra movement speed boost, I start heading towards mid. The worst time to roam is if your lane is frozen near the enemy side, since your ADC will just be permanently zoned away from EXP and gold. But right before I left, I made sure that the enemy's wave was going to push into our side, and because my Sivir still had a lot of HP, there was basically no chance for her to lose out on too much, even if I left for a while. I always try to leave at least 1 chime nearby if I ever want to roam. Since that's shown in this example, you can see how I got to the mid lane around 3 seconds faster with 1 chime compared to none. And I guarantee you that those 3 seconds will make a huge difference in a lot of games in the future. So chime management is also an important aspect on Bard to keep in mind the higher elo you go, especially in the early game. Always make sure to ping your ADC to be careful, because communication is key in a good relationship, is what I always say. There's a brief 5-second window here where my years of Lee Sin jungle experience kicks in, because depending on where I think the enemy jungler could be, I'll either call out the gank entirely or try to speed it up or slow it down. I first check the enemy raptors to see if it's up. If it was up, then I could pretty safely assume that Lee Sin did a 3-camp blue side clear and is just about to start the raptors, since we know our Silas jungle cleared his side of the map and didn't get invaded. But since his raptors are down, there are many different possible paths he could have taken. He could have 1. Done the most standard raptor start into golems, into red buff, and is pathing towards his blue side. 2. Done raptors, into red buff, into golems, and is heading towards either bot for a level 3 gank or into the enemy jungle. 3. Done raptors into immediate blue side clear, which some junglers opt to go for. Or 4. Started our blue side with a late invade. But since we watched both entrances until the very end and didn't spot him, we can assume that this wasn't the case. He could also have done raptors into our blue side, but if he was crazy enough to do that, then he honestly deserves those camps, like it's whatever. I personally know that for Lee Sin, if he does a full 6 camp clear, then he'll finish 3 camps, then walk across the lane through mid at around 230, just like how our Silas is doing right now. So if we assume he did scenario 1, then he should be around here on the map as I check the raptors. If he did scenario 2, then he'll be down here, and if he did scenario 3, then he'll be deeper in his blue side. Right now, the only scenario I have to be careful about is scenario 1, because if I decide to gank immediately, then Lee Sin has a small chance of seeing and saving the Annie with his W shield if he happened to be walking across mid lane right now. So I purposely spend a few seconds getting into a better position, and when I think that Lee Sin should roughly be around his wolf camp area in scenario 1, I go for the portal gank. I checked afterwards and saw that he did scenario 3, where he did raptors into blue side, but when I don't have complete information of where an enemy is on the map, I try my best to think of all the possibilities and account for the most likely options so that my thought process is consistent across every game I play. When I get back to bot, I see that the wave is in a really good spot just outside our tower range. The only problem is, if we wait too long, then our next wave will come and start slow pushing towards their side, which will make it harder to get a good gank off. So with the jungle gank window getting smaller, I try to speed up my Sylas' clear by helping him take the camp. I make sure to stop hitting it a few autos before it dies, so that there's no chance of me accidentally taking it, and I prep the lane to be gankable by scanning the bush. I barely managed to reach level 3 here from a minion dying, and I'm able to double heal my Sylas, which gives him just enough HP to barely stay alive. After shoving out the wave, I see that Sylas wants to go for the Scuttle Crab before recalling. Just in case Lee Sin decides to come and contest it, I follow the Sylas before recalling together.
아, 서포터가 이거 존나 맘에 드네.
Now that we have a big advantage bot side and know that the wave was slow pushed back into us, I have a little time to roam again before my Sivir is in any immediate danger. The enemy bot lane will probably need at least 2 rotations of tower pressure if they want to reliably dive my Sivir, and since she'll be able to wave clear comfortably for a while, I choose to speed up my jungler's clearing once more. When I come mid, Orianna puts down a really nice pink ward so that I know if I'm just wasting my time or not in the bush, and we look to gank the Flash's Annie. I ping the Orianna to walk to the right side of the lane so that Annie will walk to the left side closer to us, since that's just how mid lanes work from a psychological point of view, and a small miscommunication error occurs. So right here, I honestly thought that Sylas would hard commit for an E2, since if he lands an E2, I can land my Q stun, and with the combined burst of all 3 of us, we'd be able to kill her and portal out to safety. But I didn't want my Sylas to take the turret aggro due to him being a melee champion, so I flashed first to make sure he could get his entire combo off without worrying. But he didn't go for the E2, so I kinda looked silly as I took the portal of Shane back out. Lee Sin ganks top, and as we see him coming down, Sylas and I have the exact same idea and try to hide in pockets of Fog of War to try to flank the Lee Sin. Lee Sin decides to go into his jungle after probably seeing that the scuttle was taken, and Sylas gets seen by the vision cone. Since I managed to dodge it, I stick around for a few more moments to see if he'll go for a fight, but after seeing nothing, we just back out. This time, as I start heading back to lane, I see that Sivir is also recalling, which means that I once again have absolutely nothing to do. So while I have some free time, it just makes sense to keep helping my Sylas clear faster, because I might as well since I'm in the area. I think Annie thought that Orianna still had ultimate, but there was honestly no chance we could have killed her there, so we just got the flash again for free, which worked out pretty well. You'll see a common pattern no matter where I go on the map, where I'll try my best to stay out of vision as long as possible, so I'll try to sneak into bushes into lane or path in very circular ways so that the enemy gets the least amount of information as they can on where I am until the last second. This habit has just been ingrained into my playstyle, because if for example you see a car coming at you from a mile away, you'll have time to react and think on how to avoid it. But if the car just appeared out of nowhere a few feet from you, then there's a way higher chance for you to make a mistake from panicking, which is why I want to give the enemy the least amount of time to react to the car known as Bard. I'm actually surprised Ambition got baited by the clone here, because I 100% saw the real Nico accidentally auto attack, which a clone can't do, but we still managed to get the kill after a brief chase, so it worked out I guess. always try to figure out where the enemy could go. So for example, here I see the Lee Sin walking slowly upwards, and I immediately break the blast cone so that he can't potentially escape to safety. But he tries to get greedy for the low HP Orianna and pays for it immediately. Whenever the team goes for an objective, Bard should always try to either zone the enemy from entering the area in the first place, or try to pick someone off with your mobility before anyone can come help.
아 좋다 좋아. 아 바드 좋은데? 아 이 녀석 옛날에 많이 만났던 바드네. 아직도 여기 있니? 근데 확실히 같은 티어여도 롤력이 다 다르긴 하다.
Once again, I don't have anything to do, and I'm too poor to buy anything meaningful, so I just keep helping my jungler so that he can start doing whatever he wants faster, which can only be good for the team. But because of my constant help in accelerating Silas' clear, we get into position at the perfect time to get another pick off on the Lee Sin, which wouldn't have been possible if he had to slowly clear everything alone. I also like how we're looking for this kill on the Aatrox here. Then the instant I miss my Q-stun, we both know that it's no longer doable and back off immediately. But now that Fiora arrives and Aatrox decides to stay for the wave, I see an angle and ping for a dive. I'm basically just playing as a second jungler this game, but even when I'm helping the Silas clear, I'm always making sure to look at the map so that if I see somewhere I have to be, I can react instantly to help out. After Annie dies, I know that Tibbers is going to slowly lose HP while chasing me, and after I look at the map again to confirm that my Silas is coming down, I try to position myself so that he can get his damage off in the most efficient way possible. I intentionally walk below the Lee Sin so that I can Q him onto the Tibbers right before it goes down, which gives the Silas a free E2 on the Lee. If I use my Q-stun too early, then the E2 damage might have been blocked by the Tibbers, so I waited just in case.
와, 씨, 바드 뭐야 이거?
There's a lot that happens here after we chase down the Aatrox, so I'll first show the clip before commenting on it. My team actually does a really great job baiting them closer here, and I immediately understand what they're trying to do, so I follow along. If I kept running away, the enemy might have stopped chasing me because I was too far, so I intentionally stepped back for a brief moment to make the enemy think that they can catch up to me, and after acting like I was trying to run away to safety, I go for a double flash Q-stun right as my team engages. I realized in a split second that my Q barely didn't hit the Kaisa, so no stun went through on either of them. And because I'm scared of the Lee Sin ultimate hitting someone and potentially knocking me up for a kill, I try my best to run away a bit so that I had the most amount of time to reactionary dodge it. As the Nico comes in with the ultimate, I want to close off any of the enemy's potential escape angles, so I get ready to portal behind them right after the Nico goes down.
아, 이 게임 봐봐. 뭐 라이너들도 못하는 건 아니지만 그냥 서포 차이가 그냥 또라이야.
We take a bad fight after Silas gets caught, but since they used all of their ultimates and our team still has theirs up in a 2v3, we make the call to try to stop them from taking the Otacon. I think I could have saved this fight if I managed to ult the Silas or the Sivir as they were getting bursted, but I also tunnel visioned on stopping the Kai'Sa from entering the fight until it was too late, so that was just a mistake on my end. But now that we managed to get the Otacon and snowballed our advantages, all we had to do was keep picking them off one by one until we managed to push into their base.